All right guys, Coach Justin here from Zone. I like to call it a shortstop drill. So a lot of times with pitchers, you'll see them move pretty well on the field and then they get on the mound and they lose some of that athleticism. So a big part of these drills is getting off the mound and trying to get their body to get used to moving like that, so free and loose. And one of the ways that we do that is with a drill where we're trying to train the order that we want them to rotate. So I'm gonna walk through it and then I'll kind of show you guys a little bit. But basically we're simulating fielding a ball in the hole, spinning, and throwing. And the reason we do that is that a lot of guys, when they get on the mound, will get super linear and either push and extend with their back leg, or they won't get this hip all the way through, and you'll see them finish with their chest like this and their hip behind. So we're trying to get them to go all the way through, but more importantly, we're trying to get the right order or the right sequence to happen. So what we're looking for is knee, hip, torso, arm, the turn rolling up the body. And when you are forcing them to turn like this, you'll really see if they stab and can't get their hip through. So we're just trying to help them get that back hip all the way through. And we're gonna do that with a little bit of a spin like they're fielding a ground ball. So sometimes I just put the cones for reference, but basically it's gonna look something like this. And so what I'm looking for when I'm down there catching is that I shouldn't see them extend and go straight. They should be throwing set up at an angle to them. But beyond that, I shouldn't see their chest. They should be able to get all the way around and I should see the back of their shoulder. Okay, so one more time. I find it helps when you pretend to field a ground ball, just sort of getting them out of pitch mode, and also gets them a little lower in their legs so they're not walking on stilts and they're just in a little more of an athletic position. All right, now, if you notice that they're starting to plant and push and they can't rotate all the way through and around, then I can put something like a bucket and tell them to have their butt pass over it so that when they go to turn, now they have something there to force them to get through to their target, which again is set at a diagonal, not straight up. We don't want them to push and go straight, set up at a diagonal so they have to rotate through. Another way to do that, if that's not working, is to take a pole or some tape and put it straight up and make them get past that and get to that diagonal. But again, we're just trying to get that back hip to get all the way through and get the turn to roll up their body and out their arm so that we don't see a lot of glove pull or push pull. All right guys, so to progress from the last bit of the drill where we're doing the shortstop throw, where we're spinning around and firing to a target on a diagonal, as we take that to the mound, anytime I'm doing something with sequencing where you're working on the order that their body's firing, you don't necessarily want to go right to the mound too quick because their body's going to want to do what it knows how to do when it gets in this space. So I like to pattern things off of the mound, see the pattern that you want start to show up, and then slowly transition it. So you don't have to go right to this. We can do this on flat ground too, but basically we're taking that same rotation where we're focusing on the turn actually happening and how fast we can make it happen, and we're now going to feed that on the mound so that we get into our back hip and then we get our back hip to unload through the ball. Okay, so that's going to look something like this. Again, you're just sort of on the edge of the mound here. You can walk up onto the mound if you want, but really all you need is one step, and basically all you're going to do is left, right, up, throw. And again, we're just trying to get them into their back hip so that when they lift, their butt stays back over their heel and we're not drifting this way. A lot of guys step across their body. So we're trying to get them to get into that back hip and then fire it through and get all the way through the baseball. Okay, so if your momentum is going this way and your butt's actually going back, you're not gonna wanna push against it, and then we'll see a big glove pull and the head get back in line. We're looking for butt over heel and getting in line and then hips firing. Getting all the way through that ball. Again, we can do this on flat ground. Sometimes it helps to not make them feel like they're pitching. So you can just sort of add a little tap. Whatever frees them up and makes them feel loose. Another big thing to kind of keep in mind with this is a lot of times you'll see them take a really small step and then reach for the rubber. And if you reach with that leg, then they end up extended going this way. So you want them to really walk into it and not sort of hop and push. You'll see a lot of that. You want them to really get that heel down so that their butt comes back. And the biggest thing about stepping straight is if my butt stays over my heels, I'm going to be in line. But when my butt drifts over my toes, it's when we start to go this way. So we're trying to get their butt back, load into the back hip, rotate all the way through. Okay guys, so in general, when we're patterning a drill, my favorite way to start is without a ball in the hand and just focus on the movement pattern. Then go to a baseball, but still not in pitch mode, so something on flat ground where it doesn't feel like you're delivering a pitch. Then gradually transition that to the mound. Once the pattern starts to show up, then we want to get fast. We want to see how quickly we can move through that, right? We want to be explosive and quick. So once you feel like they're actually starting to get into that back hip and they're getting all the way through and they're rotating well, then what we're going to do is we can add a little band. You can do this with or without a ball. So the coach will just be off at the corner of the mound, so lefty they'd be over here obviously, but off pulling in the direction of getting their butt going back. So for righty first base side, lefty third base side. And you're doing that same drill where you're walking in, except now as I lift, he's going to pull that band back at an angle, and that's going to get me into that back hip with a little bit more speed. So we're just training, getting in and out of these positions quickly. Okay, so it'll look something like this. And you'll notice it'll help them get down the ball, down the mound, and really get through the ball with their hips. Instead of, again, that push-pull pattern that we see a lot of, especially in younger athletes. So one more time. Up, back, and through.